What is happening, fishers? Welcome to a very gloomy day. No fishing getting done today, so we decided why not jump into Untraceable Studios and build a cob trace for you guys. This is pretty much the trace us an Untraceable would use targeting cob or and any, I suppose, edible fish species out there. So let's get started, guys. I'm going to build this tracer from the bottom up. So first of all, hook choice. When it comes to cob, I've got a few favorites depending on the conditions where I'm fishing for cob and the size of the fish we are fishing for. Hook number one, BKK inline heavy circle, probably my number one choice. I'd pretty much go to this if I'm getting to a new place, don't know what size cob and stuff are around. So I'd fish this in between a 7.0 and a 9.0. The 8.0 makes a good in between though for any size cob. Another good choice are the Mitsu Circle lights, especially if you're fishing cleaner, flatter, calmer water where you want a bit more of a natural presentation for the bait. Mitsu Circle lights, very nice choice. Or if the fish are skittish or on the smaller side, I go down to a 5.0 there, right up to an 8.0 depending on the size of the fish. Fish of maybe your smaller cob up to 10, 15 kilos. When I'm starting looking for bigger fish, 20 or 30 kilo fish and things like that, then I'd probably much rather use an inline circle. And then another very good choice, guys, the BKK competition circles also make a very, very awesome choice for cob baits, especially for live bait. It'll definitely be our number one choice fishing for live bait for cob. And then if you're a J hook guy, the BKK red octopus beak I think is the go-to for J hook wise when it comes to the BKK range. So for this, I've got one of those left in the packet. So the Mitsu Circle light, it's also available in the medium. I like the gauge on a light, nice thin gauge hook, super strong. So let's get building, guys. So after that, we need our bite trace. So when it comes to cob, I'd run anything between 0.7 mil and 0.9 mil. 0.9 mil for the bigger fish, 0.7 for all the fish. 0.7 will handle any size cob, no matter how big and strong they get. The nice thing, I'd run up to a 0.9 sometimes if there are particularly bigger fish around and you're going to have them on a bit of a longer fight. Just when you get a movement in the cob changing directions, you might have some movement over the teeth with the line. You can actually feel it clicking like that, clicking left and right. So the 0.9 just gives you a little bit more protection when it comes to that. So let's get some 0.7 going. Okay, being a circle hook, obviously the good old snell nut to start. Okay, nice seated hook. Okay, length of bite trace. I'd say, guys, anywhere from, it's about 400 on your rougher days, right up to about 750, almost a meter. The sea's a bit flatter and things like that. But that's pretty much where I like to fish my standard everyday cob trace. You're probably looking at 600 mils. From there, I'm going to cut off. Next in line, our interleaving swivel. This swivel is going to lead pretty much between your leader, either your braided leader or your mono leader, to your bite trace. So I like to use number 4. I like the Japanese power swivels for that. Whatever your favorite fishing knot is, guys, you can use. I'm going to go old school today. Always remember to lubricate your knots, stop your line burning and twisting and getting all weird on you. What I like to do is just take a sinker, pop the swivel on, and really seat my knot. Okay, hook snoot to main swivel done. Let's lay him one side. Now, because we're fishing for cob, whenever it comes to cob fishing, white stemless, pig nose grunter, whatever you want to call them, I like to fish a running trace. So pretty much what a running trace is a free running swivel. So that'll be attached to your, I'm not going to tie a knot now because I'm going to need it, so I can actually tie it on now. And your main line, your main leader, anywhere from a 0.7 to a 0.9, just to be a bit more abrasion resistant. And the length of that varies on your drop, if it's going onto your reel. So Just for video purposes, I'm going to make him about that long. So essentially what a running swivel is, for those of you who don't know, or running sink, I should say. So you pretty much have a swivel onto the line like that. So when you pretty much get that sort of motion, so when your sinker is hooked into the sand or the rocks and a fish takes off, he's not feeling any resistance from the sinker. He can swim away freely without dropping the bait, especially when the fish are a bit skittish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to improve this a bit. Instead of using a normal swivel, where if your sinker does get stuck, it puts a bit too much force in one direction of the line, we're going to make something called a T-swivel. It just allows that swivel to run up the line and stuff a bit smoother. T-swivels are available. You can buy T-swivels. I prefer making my own. I just find the T-swivels, the plastic keeps breaking on them and it just becomes a bit of a mess. You get your line hooked up inside them and things like that. So I've got a very simple, cheap solution to make a T-swivel, and T-swivels are expensive, guys, and they're not always readily available. So if we go down to a number 4, Japanese power swivel, works beautifully with a Q-tip, or what we commonly in South Africa called an earbud. So what we're going to do is, I've already cut the one end off, and cut a few centimeters of that off. What we're going to do, is take that, it fits in nice and snugly in the number 4 power swivel. So that's pretty much what we're going to do. Keep him down to the one side. We'll take a lighter. Try not directly onto the plastic just to get it a bit hot. So this is quite a heavy lighter I've got going here. All we do is we're melting the plastic, pushing it down onto a nice hard surface. Create a little effect there. I'm going to show you what the point of that is. Once we put the swivel back on, it's going to stop the swivel coming off the earbud. And the same to the other side, applies to the other side. One side done. And the second side done. What I suggest is get a couple of swivels, cut up a couple of earbuds, and get a hold of these going, and just leave them lying in your tackle box, ready to go. You don't have to make them on the go on the rocks. So that will go onto our, I can see here, onto our leader. And we'll attach our sinker to that. Okay, sinker choice, obviously depending on the rod you're using and what tackle you're using. So I've just got a 5-ounce nylon grapnel for demonstration purposes at the moment. Always, every time I tie a sinker, just a break off knot in case it does get hooked anyway. Snag knot, so if that does get hooked, it's going to snap there a bit easier. And what we'll do is pop it onto our number 4 Japanese power swivel, or our new T-swivel as we call it now. And I can actually demonstrate. Okay, it's quite long, so I'm going to drop that into my lap. Sinker's there, and I can actually demonstrate. So the bait will be sitting, fish pulls off, no resistance to the fish. Okay, let me just get those tag ends. Always remember to cut your tag ends off, but not too short. It's just going to stop your line winding up when you're reeling in and you're becoming a big knot. So get your tag ends off. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Our main line, or leader, whatever you want to call it. Our T-swivel, homemade T-swivel, saving you time, saving you money. Number 3 or number 4 Japanese power swivel, 0.7 to 0.9 leader. And anywhere, if you're fishing circle hook, anywhere from a 5 up to a 9, depending on the fish you're targeting. For J hook, I'd say the same size, from a 5 to a 9. But we're not finished yet. We need something to put our bait onto. So another little handy trick, something we called dingles or dingle dangles. If you're overseas, that's what we call them here. So I'm just going to demonstrate how to make your own. You can buy them in the shops. I don't like the ones in the shops. They normally got a wire center. I don't like fishing with any sort of wire when it comes to cob. I just believe they're you're not going to get as many pickups and bites on it. So I've got a very, very simple solution of this. So what we're going to do is use a soy ring and our Dacron. Use our famous little hook on the sinker again. It comes in very handy for a lot of things. Pull that nice and tight, and then we're going to decide on the length we want our bait. So if I want to fish a nice long skinny bait with a long piece of foam, longer dingle, or if I want a short fatter bait, short dingle. So I like about that sort of size for my cob fishing. All I'm going to do is cut that off at the size I want. Take my lighter once again, burn the end. Bit of spit, squash it flat, and that's it. Base of the dangle made. We take that on, pop it onto the hook, and there we have it. But now we're going to add a little bit of foam on the dangle to give the bait a bit more volume and to help the bait float, so you get a better presentation like that, so the bait looks more natural. So any piece of foam, guys, I've got an old piece of kickboard lying around, which works beautifully. Nice sharp knife. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the size I want. So I'll do that, make a little mark. That'll go back in the box. And I'm just going to get some shape into it. Okay, so I've got more of like a elongated diamond sort of rugby ball shape. Take the knife again, slice the dingle just past halfway. This is why a sharp knife is quite important here. I'm going to open the dingle up. I don't actually know which part's called the dingle, which is the dangle. I think the dangle up. I think this is the dingle and that's the dangle. But anyway, guys, I'm going to slide our Dacron inside. Close it up. Some guys like to use super glue. I don't. And get some nice, good, thick cotton or extra thick cotton. Keep them nice and good. Couple of turns at the bottom. Really go to town at the bottom. I'll just run a thin layer, a couple of turns as I go up. Yeah, I don't want to put too much pressure on the foam. I want to keep all that air inside that foam to make the bait float. The more pressure you put on the foam, the more of that air we're going to push out the foam, and your bait's not going to float as well. And then once again at the top again, that'll get super sharp. Really go to town. This is why I like to use extra thick cotton, because you can really put a lot of tension onto it. Tie off, snap off. Get them out the way. And then you have a beautiful little dingle to present your bait on. A lot of you might be asking, what's the point of putting the ring at the bottom? I'm going to show you now. Obviously for casting, you get a bit more distance and things like that. When we use dingles, we can get, our sinkers are made little clipping here in South Africa. Especially surf casting, you want to get some extra distance. So the point of that little ring is to clip your sinker onto when you cast. And that's pretty much how you're going to throw your bait out, guys. So when it's going through the air, everything is going in a straight line, giving you a bit more, less air resistance. Once it hits the water, disengages, your bait will float away freely and start dancing and doing its thing. Okay, so that's just a quick run on a cob trace. This trace can be used for any sort of fish, guys, but this is the trace we're using for cob. We will in the next couple of weeks get different species out. This is what I particularly use for cob. Pretty much my lengths and everything like that, and it does work. There are a lot of other ones that do work, obviously. So get it out, guys. Try it out. Save yourself some money. make yourself a dangle, make yourself a T-swivel, and hope this video has been a bit informative and you've learned something, and hopefully it helps you catch more fish. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Help us get our subscriber counts up and going. Anyway, until we see you again all, tight lines, screaming reels, cheers.